What's going on, YouTube? Wanted to try something a little different. Gonna try to do a 5-minute album review, and who better to switch things up with than the innovator Porter Robinson himself. 7 years removed from the release of Worlds, we find ourselves in a very different place. The opening track, Lifelike, gives me a very innocent, pure, toy-like, if I can say that. When I was writing down my notes, I just felt like it reminded me of childhood toys. I guess reminiscent of a distant childhood memory. Moving on to the next track, Look at the Sky, my second favorite off the album. Enter signature vocal processing. What I like about this one is the songwriting and just the overall listenability is very easy to digest, very straightforward. Whether you're a devout fan or a casual listener, this one's very easy to listen to. One of my favorite moments of the album is just this cut to just the vocals themselves. I feel like it's a very powerful and emotional moment. Yeah, they just sound so genuine and raw. I enjoyed the build coming up here for the final iteration of the chorus with the constant kick going in the background. It finally felt like there was even more energy to an already uplifting track. I feel like Look at the Sky just has this overall sense of hope. I think it's very emblematic of the album art itself. Get Your Wish is an interesting track. I enjoyed the metronome in the beginning. Really beautiful instrumentation on it as well. I think the drum set he chose sets a perfect tone for what he's going for. It's really got that natural feel to it. Admittedly, I find this song to be a little slow. It sort of feels like it drags along at some points for me, which I found surprising because it's neck and neck in terms of streams if you look at the Spotify stream counter, with, I think, Something Comforting just beating it out, but those two are pretty much tied for the most popular track. Wind Tempos felt like an early interlude to the album. I like the panning back and forth in between each ear. The beginning sort of reminded me of like a concert hall, like an orchestra or a band warming up. As everybody's getting to their seats, there's typically like a general chord playing or just a general hum from the orchestra, and with that constant piano in the background, it's kind of the feel I got from it. And then if you listen closely, you'll hear that white noise kind of just flushing in the background. I feel like that helps drone everything out. Definitely put me inside a little bit of a trance the first time I listened. The song's a very creative one. You have elements disappearing and reappearing, often just randomly into one ear. Love the little scale you're about to hear here. And then you get this little bass note. It felt like something just turned on. As the track goes on, we sort of hear this evolution of a vocal sample continuously repeated, like he's manipulating it. Maybe a window into his creative process, maybe just something he wanted to add into here, but definitely interesting to listen to. Musician was a much needed jolt of energy after that kind of early slowdown interlude feel from Wind Tempos. While the drums are a bit more involved, and as I said, it felt like a burst of energy, I didn't find myself maintaining great attention in this one. Overall, not one of my favorites of the album, but despite it being a pre-release, I still feel like it has the potential to be one of those grower type songs. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Interesting change in percussion right off the bat. You sort of get like this bit crush sound. There's also, it feels like a sense of urgency on this track. The beginning of it sort of gives me the impression of a machine busy at work. I find myself wanting to kind of fast forward to something a little bit more concrete and not as experimental and ambiguous, which is ironic because I generally give praise to songs that are much more complex and interesting. Mother felt like a digital lullaby. Dulcite, really interesting syncopation on this one. I appreciated that. A lot more creative stereo imaging with things flushing back and forth with the panning and everything. But again, reiterating my thoughts on the previous tracks, after about a minute, I grow a little weary of the lack of structure and just the constant experimentation. Easily the most emotionally grabbing tracks in my opinion. Lyrics really hitting home to anybody who wishes they might have chosen a different path in life or made a mistake they wish they hadn't. Mirror is another one of those tracks that was a contender for one of my favorites. I enjoyed like the melodic, free-flowing creativity he included in there, on top of an already creative and catchy melody that kind of serves through the whole song. Definitely one of the more interesting tracks. Easily my personal favorite of the album. Just an undeniable, great song to listen to. That lead is just so infectious. Yeah, I really think that lead is an example of finding the right sound for a song, if that's even possible. With endless possibilities, it just felt like a perfect fit, and obviously, given the fact that it's edging out to be the favorite of the album, I think that's a testament to his sound selection. So, if Mother was a digital lullaby, Blossom is a legitimate lullaby. Had to fight mentally drifting off while listening. I think that was the intention on this one. Unfold felt like a very apparent change in the sound, and I think that's due to the collaboration, but I'm not sure. Yeah, this one just felt a bit out of place for me personally. Not really sure what else to say on that one. So Trying to Feel Alive, obviously a beautiful outro. Really encompasses the entire album and wraps up the previous thoughts, if you will. Okay, so thoughts and summation. Admittedly, by the time I'm halfway through the album, I feel like it's lost a bit of steam. Other than something comforting, it felt like I had to will myself to pay attention to the second half of the album. A lot of the pure instrumentation and a little bit of experimental parts, which I can appreciate. I think it served as a bit of a distraction sometimes, and to where you could maybe find yourself zoning out if you're not careful. I think the biggest thing with this album is you have to be emotionally ready to sit down and listen to something like this. You have to be open to feeling a wide variety of emotions, because this album really elicits a wide variety of emotions. And if you sit down and you're just like, all right, let's hear some cool electronic stuff, you're probably going to be disappointed. I think this album focused a lot more on songwriting and just general musicianship. I still find it a very cohesive, beautiful concept album. Personally, I don't see myself revisiting a whole lot of it. Now you may be wondering, what tracks did you add? The two songs that I'm actually adding to my personal library are Something Comforting and Look at the Sky. Everything else, I just don't feel like I need to revisit. And those are my thoughts on Nurture. Let me know what you guys thought. I'm looking to do more album reviews on the channel, but I want to keep it short for you guys. I kind of like this format a little more. It gives me the ability to dive more in depth instead of just being a reaction hype man, as I often do on a weekly basis. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.